Hello and welcome to Sunrise Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known in the hobby as Crease Collector. So to start off the episode, we've been talking about our contest for a few episodes at this point, so we just wanted to get the drawing out of the way right from the start. And just as a reminder, there will be two winners in the contest drawing tonight. And the first winner will have their pick between a lot of some of the hits that we pulled in our Metal Universe box break a few episodes ago. And then the other prize is the Alexis Lafreniere National Hockey Card Day card, as well as two National Hockey Card Day packs, all three of those of which came from the National. So those are the two prizes that the first winner will be able to choose between, and then whoever the second winner is will get whatever is left between the two prizes. And then just to quickly share about the process of picking the winners, I'll just use random.org and we'll randomize the list of entrants 3 times. And whoever is on top after that third randomization will get the first pick, and whoever is second will have the second pick. So with that, good luck, everyone. And I'm going to start the randomizing. So there is 1. There is 2, and our winners with the first pick is CJK Collectibles from Twitter, and the second winner is FLA Breaks 28 from Instagram. So congratulations, guys. Whenever you hear this, just go ahead and shoot us a message on those respective platforms and let us know your preference for the prizes, and we'll get those sent right out to you. So congratulations again. And now, turning to the main part of our episode, we wanted to take a look inside one of the industry's largest auction houses, that being Classic Auctions. So joining us is Marc Juteau, president and founder of Classic Auctions. Marc, thank you so much for taking time to join us. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing real well, guys. Thank you very much for having me. This is going to be a real pleasure.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. We just wanted to just start things off. If you could just explain to everyone just a bit about yourself and just your background with hockey cards.
Yeah, well, so I'm 48 years old now, and I started Classic Auctions by myself when I was 21 years old. At that point, I'd already been working into the sports cards and memorabilia industry already for quite a few years. When I was 21 years old, I started as a teenager, as many of the business owners had, I guess. And I was working for my aunt, who had a collectibles shop in the old Montreal. And I was in charge of selling all the sports cards directly in the boom of things in the late 80s, early 90s. And we were also at that point already pretty active in selling historical memorabilia like equipment and game use stuff. So that's pretty much the background. I mean, I started to do this when I was really young, and I guess I just got really passionate with it. I got really hooked and never stopped.
That's super cool that you have such a long background, with the hobby and, in that side of it too. That's really cool. You just talked about how you started Classic Auctions. In that time since, over these 27 years, how have you seen the company grow? And, what has that growth kind of looked like? And what have been some of the changes that have happened over those years?
Well, yeah, the company definitely grew. I mean, right off the bat, we were doing like small auctions almost on a monthly basis, and the auctions were strictly pretty much advertised in SCD, Sports Collectors Digest. At that point, there wasn't even anything called the internet, I guess. It takes you back a long time, but we went through that. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, I made some good contacts, and I got friends with a couple of people that I would do business with for a long time, and who really helped me start getting to the players and start dealing into players collections. The first one that we ever got being Guy Lafleur, and that really launched our player collection division for us, in partnering up with Leland's at that point and somebody else who was involved in the deal, and just buying outright the Guy Lafleur collection and selling it at auction. That made a huge difference, and from there we started just get player after player who were interested in selling their personal belongings, and that really created a big buzz and something special for the company, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. You kind of already just touched on it actually, but we just wanted to know, obviously as an auction house, you sell various items, and obviously another big component for any auction house is just acquiring new pieces. So again, you touched on it right there, but how does one go about the various methods to acquire certain pieces of gear? And if there's any, maybe some pieces that are kind of like your own, like maybe white whales or something like that you would have loved to acquire and maybe did, or just kind of like run us through that process in general, but how one goes to acquire these amazing pieces.
I mean, we would purchase, and we do purchase items on a regular basis, and in no way, shape, or form anywhere close to what we used to. When I first started the company for a number of years, we would have to purchase most of the items because obviously we didn't have any kind of trust from the consigners at that point. Nowadays, we get almost everything on a consignment basis. I guess it's a lot easier for us, but also gives the consigners a chance to maximize the revenues. So most of our acquisitions are done on consignment basis, and a lot of people contact us directly because they are interested in selling their collection, and they're interested in learning about the consignment process and what that entails. We also carry a list of people that have shown interest in consigning and that we get back in touch with on a regular basis. I have consigners in different cities that are interested in putting their items up for auction when I travel to their cities, and I make sure to stay in touch with them as well. So I guess it's a combination of different methods and different ways of contacting people, but most of it is done on consignment basis now more than anything else.
That's really, really cool. So I guess, there is, I mean, they might even shop around too, like between Classic and maybe someone else. So is there maybe certain items or a story that you really wanted to get this guy's item to sell on Classics or something like that?
Oh, I can guarantee you that the consigners absolutely do shop their items around before
Hmm.
making that final decision on where they want to consign it. If they're looking to consign it, then and that's probably the smart way of doing it. If I had a very important collection, or if one of my family members had a very important collection, I would definitely suggest to them to shop things around before making a final decision, because there's a lot of different companies who probably have different things to offer and different strengths in different areas of the collecting. So it's probably smart to shop things around, and people do that with us too, and we're totally understanding of that process and willing to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. One thing that a lot of collectors might think of when they're thinking of big auction houses like Classic Auctions is the presence that these auction houses often have at big shows like the National, the Expo, whatever it might be. What kind of goes into setting up at a big show like that? How do you determine what items are displayed? How do you transport the items being displayed? How do you go about setting up at the show? Just things like that. I know we were going to talk about this in person at the National, but just didn't get the chance to. So maybe if you just want to talk a little bit about that experience, what it's like setting up at a show and what that entails.
That's a great question, actually. I had forgotten that we used to set up shows years ago. Those days are kind of over for us. We did not set up at the National. I just went there and toured the show to make acquisitions. And as far as Canada is concerned, because we're located in Montreal, Canada, there hasn't been any shows here that I know of for pretty much a year and a half or a little bit more since the pandemic started. So I kind of miss it, actually. I'm looking forward to doing more shows. I think there's going to be a few in November. It looks like the Toronto and maybe the Vancouver shows will happen. And we're actually looking forward to getting more serious with these shows when they happen again, and setting up and displaying and advertising a number of very important items for upcoming auctions. We think that can have a good impact on the results, good impact on future business, and we're looking forward to making a statement as far as that's concerned.
Nice. Glad to hear it. Yeah, as far as the expo goes, I'll be attending as well. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, knock on wood, hopefully everything is okay with the pandemic and stuff like that. Speaking of the pandemic, I mean, obviously the last year and a half has been a whirlwind for everybody, but how have you guys learned to adjust, with the sports card and memorabilia industry during the past year and a half? Like, how has that been for you, and what ways did you have to adjust?
Well, I guess like many of the auction houses and many people in this great hobby, the pandemic, knock on wood, was good for us. Most of our businesses are run online, and that kind of brought to a boom. And with all the publicity and everybody stuck at home and being more interested in collecting, we obviously had the best last couple of years of our existence in the last 2 years during the pandemic. So we're very fortunate about that, and we're trying to grow with that and follow the flow and see if there's an opportunity there to grow the business. That said, for us in Quebec, when the pandemic first happened, it was pretty strict right off the bat. I mean, the Quebec government for the province pretty much shut down the entire province and required that everybody went home and stopped working and shut down all the businesses except the very important ones. So we had to shut down classic auctions, and I had to send everybody home. And I guess at that point in time, probably like most people on the planet, we felt, well, maybe collecting is going to be kind of over. Who's going to want to collect if the planet is going into this great big ordeal? And I started to pay a really close attention to the auctions that were going to happen in the States over the following weeks. And I kind of saw there was a big demand, that the results were starting to be really good, and that the business was really strong and kind of booming. And at that point, we were allowed to get some employees back into the office, which is what I did. And we put an auction together as quickly as we could, try to finish the auction that we're working on. And it was one of our best ones ever. So it was very strange times, I guess, to say the least.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's cool to hear, what you guys were able to still make out of that situation, even right at the start when there was a lot of uncertainty, and you just mentioned that auction was one of your best ones ever. Kind of going along with that theme, and this might be nearly an impossible question to answer, but is there one favorite item that has ever come through classic auctions? Or if that's too hard, are there maybe a few that stand out to you?
Well, it would be tough for me to not mention and not make a statement of the Paul Anderson jersey that we sold back in 2010. The famous jersey that Paul wore when he scored the winning goal against the Russians in 1972, that brought $1.275 million at auction. That's definitely a very important moment in the company, and that's not about to be broken for a jersey, at least. I would have to say that that's the most important moment, especially given the fact that we got millions of dollars worth of free advertising. I mean, we were on the news every night for weeks when that auction was happening back in 2010.
No doubt. I mean, I think I remember that. So, like, just a iconic piece with an iconic price tag, of course. What would you say? I'm sure there's moments like that, but what would you say is your favorite thing about owning a sports card and memorabilia auction house?
For me, there's no doubt, what drives me to put these auctions together, and what is the most fun part of it is definitely the chase. I mean, I love to see collections, love to see new collectors and the way that they display their things and visit them. And when we get calls from players or from consigners or collectors that decide to sell their collections or are offering them, I mean, it's so much fun just to go and visit them and see what people have accumulated and what they have in their collection, and thinking that could be included in their auction. Is the fun is definitely in the chase, no doubt. I love seeing great stuff, and I'm really passionate about the history of the game and what these cards and memorabilia mean to the history of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer. I mean, I think anyone, that's a collector would love to have the job that you have, just seeing so many amazing things coming through your hands and finding a good home for them. I mean, that's got to be just such an awesome thing to be doing on a daily basis. And we've talked about you have, your fall auction currently taking place. What can you tell us about this specific auction? Maybe what some of the, the big themes of the auction are, and some of the things that you're excited about.
That's a great example right there, because the cornerstone of our current auction is without a doubt the personal collection of hockey all-time great Dale Awachuk. I mean, he's one of the finest players of the 1980s, no doubt. One of the greatest persons, one of the greatest guys from the game of hockey, no doubt. And unfortunately, as we all know, he passed away a year ago, and that goes right back to what I was saying earlier. Is when I was introduced to the family, and somebody told me that the family was interested in having some items because they've kept a good quantity of their collection, but having some items sold at auction. I was I was really really excited about that, and I felt that was a very important collection, and that really drove me, and I was real happy to meet with the family and exchange what I knew and how I could help them with my knowledge. So that's definitely an important part of the auction. But then again, the auction has so much to offer besides that great collection. But that would be my cornerstone of it, no doubt.
Very nice. I mean, obviously, those are quite important pieces, like both, personally and professionally, I think. Collections like that obviously don't come around, with that sort of impact every day. And, it's definitely a good piece to have for sure. And I'm sure collectors are going to love that. Speaking more about the fall auction, is there any more hockey related pieces that stand out for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got a huge collection of Gretzky rookie cards again, so that's always really interesting to see. I mean, we've been having dozens of Gretzky rookie cards in each auction for the past couple of years, and it seems like they just keep going and people keep collecting them, and I'm always amazed by that, and that's great. We're fortunate. There's so many people that are looking to collect those, so I'm very excited about that. The Gretzky rookies are doing fantastic. I mean, we have the Tim Thomas collection, the personal collection of Bruins all-time great Tim Thomas in there. I mean, again, I was so excited that one day I got a phone call and there was Tim Thomas, one of the guys that I watched play and who was a big bad Bruins against our Canadians just a few years ago. And now suddenly he's interested in consigning a number of important items to his collection. We've got the personal collection of Pete Mahovlich again, and that auction is just a great Canadian legend. Again, selling off some of his personal memorabilia. So there's a lot of great pieces in there. Again, it's going to be a fabulous auction.
And one piece that as I was looking through, the things that are available that really stuck out to me was the Lord Stanley autograph that you guys have. And again, that's just one that stuck out to me, but I'm intrigued by kind of the backstory of that, how that came into your hands, and maybe along with that, if there's any other interesting stories behind some of the items being auctioned off.
Yeah, well, yeah, Lord Stanley autographs are always special. I mean, talk about the grandfather of the game right there, and his autographs are always very popular. We seem to be lucky, and we always have them in every auction. It seems. I think the one in the current auction was probably consigned actually by a guy in England who just happened to find one in maybe like an old manuscript show or something. I believe that's where it comes from. So it's just a standard consigner. I don't think it's got a special story to it other than the fact that it's an important Lord Stanley autograph. But the auction does have a number of really cool autographs and important documents. And I think one of them that I really appreciated is the first ever pro document or pro contract or assignment contract for Maurice the Rocket Richard in 1941 before he even played a game with the Canadians. We have his first ever contract when he was assigned to the Canadians. So that's a very important document for us, and being from Montreal and how much the Rocket is appreciated. That's an historical piece right there. Is his first ever assignment contract from the NHL.
That's awesome. It's cool to hear these stories that obviously these Montreal legends, and obviously there's that personal touch there for you. But like if we can back up to that Tim Thomas one, I can only imagine the double-edged sword that was a little bit. He calls you to auction off his stuff, but yet he's a former Bruin, so it's like what do I do? But of course, you always got to take the high road there. But just ending with a little bit of a fun question.
I can tell you, if you don't mind, I don't want to cut you off.
No.
I know we're recording this, so to follow in your footstep there, what you want to talk about, I do want to give you a funny story.
Sure.
And I absolutely don't want to brag in any way, shape, or form, but obviously I'm very fortunate with the job that I have, and I'm even more fortunate to have been able to get the trust of many hockey legends, because our relationship with the players is very, very dear and important to us, and we cherish it and maintain it as much as we can. And every time I go in different cities, I try to make a point in making contact with players and people that I know. And there's obviously legends in all the different cities. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Boston with my son for different things, for different businesses, and I gave Ray Bork a call, and he invited us for dinner. Imagine that, how lucky we are, is Ray Bork inviting me and my son for dinner. And my son, when he saw Ray before dinner started, we were going to watch a Bruins exhibition game, and he looked at Ray and says, "Do we have to cheer for the Bruins tonight or what?"
Oh, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. Yeah, like that's a tough thing to even comprehend, right? Like obviously he gives you this opportunity, but also, those Montreal, like that fandom like runs deep. So it's like, what do you do, right? So, oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome.
it's definitely in our blood, but we forget about it when we're into important get-togethers
Of course.
with important people that we respect and cherish.
Of course, of course. Just swing around back to my question. Just a little bit of a fun question. We don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, but if you have kind of like a hobby hot take or anything like that, just the way the industry is kind of going right now, for better, for worse, just what you've seen in the past little while. If there's any kind of hot take you want to mention.
One of my good friends in Montreal, who I consider a little bit of a mentor that I do business with for a long, long time, and we love to talk about the collectibles industry together. I think put it the best way that I could put it is, he said that used to be, he said, "Mark, our collectible industry used to be a hobby." He says it's now an industry. And I think that's the best way to put it, is there's so many new faces, so many new collectors, so many new people participating, collecting, and becoming dealers. It just makes it that now the demand is that much higher for anything really historical, anything good. It brings the prices up. It makes a better living for everybody. I think it's for the best, but I do see a huge upstring on the hobby, on the industry currently, and I'm very happy for everybody that's participating in it. It's great for all of us.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's been a really interesting last year and a half, to say the least. And obviously, there have been some great things for the hobby as part of that, for sure. I think that's pretty much all the questions we have. But is there anything else that you'd want to share, either about yourself, the hobby, classic auctions as a whole, or the fall auction?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it all. You guys have great questions. I mean, I'm very happy to be on the show. It was very interesting. I appreciate the opportunity, but I think we've pretty much covered all the angles, unless you can think of anything else. But I'm good. It's good publicity, and I hope we can get a lot of people bidding in the coming fall auction. There's great offerings there, and that much better if new people can listen to your show and learn about the company. I'm very excited about that.
Absolutely, yeah. With that too, can you give us, obviously the auction is currently going, but what is the end date for the auction?
Absolutely. It closes on October 26th, and people can register directly on the website. There's a registration page where you do have to give one reference, either from an eBay username where we can see some positive feedbacks, or references from other auction houses. If people have a hard time understanding the registration form, or would like something more personal, please call the office or email us. We get back to everybody, and we try to give the best customer service we can.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you again very much for your time, Mark. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. It was a real pleasure, and God bless. All the best of luck to you too, guys.
Thank you.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it was great to hear from Mark. I think one thing that, really kind of makes this episode interesting, at least in my eyes, is that so often, we as collectors, we just, kind of take these auction houses for granted. Like they're always there. They always have these cool items, and they're just there, for the bidding and all that. But, it's really cool to hear from Mark directly, kind of some of those behind the scenes, not only just with classic auction specifically and how he started and everything, but kind of just more about, the behind the scenes, how that process works with how, an auction comes to be, and hearing about some of those relationships that he makes with players and their families and things like that. That was really cool to me. Aaron, is there anything about what Marc said that stuck out to you?
Just like he started so young. For me, he's been doing this thing for a long time. I think that's really cool. I think he was that guy that kind of turned his hobby into, a dream, a career, and that's awesome. And obviously, everyone knows of classic auctions. Obviously, they've had some big pieces, and it's cool to see the man behind the curtain and the guy, behind the place that brings all these cool pieces into our collections. Maybe not my collection, because obviously the auctions are too rich for my blood, but to people's collections, so that stuff's, for me, it's kind of cool. I love it.
Yeah, no doubt. And we talked about those the Gretzky rookie cards that they have for sale, but just to mention a few of the other cards specifically that kind of jumped out at me. I'm looking at the auction list now here. Obviously, like he said, a lot of Gretzky rookie cards at various grades. I think most of them are PSA, but there are some BVG and things like that. But another pretty notable one, there's a complete set of 1951-52 Parkhurst cards. So obviously that includes the
Nice.
Gordie Howe rookie, Terry Sawchuk, Maurice Richard. Those are probably the three big ones. But yeah, I mean, that's an iconic set for sure. There's a real nice, I know you'll like this one, Aaron. There's a really nice 1966-67 Bobby Orr rookie card, graded PSA 4.
Hey, that was probably the one that I just gave up for free.
Yeah, that's right. It probably is. This is kind of cool. I know Marc mentioned Guy Lafleur earlier in the show, but there's a Guy Lafleur PSA 10 rookie card available. That's pretty cool. Something you don't see.
What year is that?
That's 1971.
Yeah, 71, and there's a 10. Like, how many of those are floating around,
Probably not too many. That's for sure. Lots of Gretzky rookies, like we said. They have a good amount of unopened boxes. There's some early 80s OPG boxes. And then turning to kind of more modern stuff, there are some pretty big Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid cards. They have some rookie year cards of all three of those guys from the Cup. There's a Crosby honorable numbers. There's an Ovechkin scripted swatches, a McDavid signature patches, all from their rookie years of the Cup. So those are big cards. They've got just an individual Gordie Howe rookie card from 51-52 Parkhurst. That's a PSA 4. So that's a pretty big one. Yeah, I think those are some of the big ones that jump out at me as far as the cards go. But I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff in this auction. I mean, whether it be, documents like he was talking about, that Maurice Richard contract, or, memorabilia or whatever it might be. I mean, there's just a lot of really cool stuff in here. So I'd encourage you to just go on Classic Auctions website and just take a look at some of this stuff. I mean, it's just really cool to see some of this stuff. And their site is really easy to navigate. It breaks everything down into categories. So, I mean, there's, a tab that's just for the Dale Hawerchuk stuff, one that's just for the Tim Thomas stuff, one that's just for the Pete Mahavlich stuff. There's one that's just for cards. There's one that, they do a really good job of breaking everything down. So it's really easy to come across whatever you might be looking for. And obviously you can just search for stuff as well. If you're looking for, I just want to see Guy Lafleur stuff, you can just search Guy Lafleur and it'll narrow it down to that stuff too. But yeah, a ton of really cool stuff. So it was really, really fun hearing some of the backstories on some of this stuff. And again, just really appreciate Marc's time. So I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for episode 43. Again, congratulations to our contest winners, and be sure to reach out to us to claim whichever prize is calling your name. And with that, please be sure to follow us on social media if you are not already. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Center Ice Cardcast, and on Twitter at Center Ice CC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Center Ice Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.